your opinions are. I think I want the pie in the sky with the whole thing, we can't afford it, but, we're thinking,
I'm gonna make one comment on history too. I'd love to see, when we did go through all the options, just to make a point for the public, and decided on option 5 and to start with the high school. That is really the most cost-effective way to meet the need, because we could have decided to build a brand new elementary school, which would also give us the overhead costs of its additional administrators ongoing forever into the future. I just wanted to add that one little piece onto your history lesson there. But I did want to move on, and also I was hoping that tonight we would make some decisions, and maybe we don't need to decide, maybe we have to decide what we're not going to do. The reason I'm saying that is because I think that we could at least, if we decided on option 1, as far as moving forward today, I don't think it would matter whether we said it was option 1B or 1C, for example. As far as moving forward with the building project. But we decided not to use the old school for education, for students, because we felt it was the best thing for the students. And I think that I still support that unless the administration has changed their mind about what's best for students. So as far as option 2A and 2B, I'm not too in favor of them. My gut says not option 1A either, don't rip everything down. But I do like the traffic flow idea, and I do think that we could find a way to use that front building, whether it be for administration or for something with the community. And it looks like we could do that with maybe, I don't want to say minimal cost because it's millions, but if we partner with the community somehow, we may be able to do that in a cost-effective manner. And I just like to, I guess one of my thoughts coming into this meeting was, if we could decide on option 1B or 1C, then take that as a separate project. Engage the community in that and figure out with the community what to do and separate it from the high school building project, so that it's not a distraction to getting our school done, but we can still move forward. That's what I was thinking.
Other comments, Ruth?
Well, of course, I'm in favor of saving both of the buildings. And I think, I like the visual arts section there because it's been quite a few years, but I know we put in $5 million for the arts department a while back. And I think they need to find a new film, which these are all small figures, I realize that. But there'd be a lot less that we'd have to move if we were gonna go ahead with it. My personal feeling is we don't need it. We only need to add to Coverdale, like I said months and months ago, probably a year ago. A couple sections to Coverdale, and we'd be good to go for a while. And see what because we're talking about cyber and charter, and see what kind of numbers they produce down the road. As far as Steve's idea, that sounded good, but then what would you do with Coverdale and, not Coverdale, Earl and Pine Forge? If you go, those numbers are real low there, we always have that problem. And it would be like, well, you're gonna be busing those kids past their, because you can't keep them all open if the numbers aren't there. So I'm not too happy about that, but that's what I would rather do. I'll throw that in the mix.
Okay, any other questions? What?
I'll weigh in on option 1C.
What was that?
I said I would weigh in on option 1C or 1D. But I prefer option C.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, if you're looking for more comments to the point of moving forward, I'm still in favor of, to Donna's point, you kind of go to eliminate what I wouldn't want to do. And I think 1C not crazy about tearing down the, as I understand it, that would still include tearing down the 1934 section. I guess, why not make it 2C, where you keep the 34 section as well, and just firewall the 1919 and 1934 and find a use for it.
So you wouldn't do any renovations or anything?
Well, I
to
think,
that?
as Mark said, it was $6 million, and that's assuming you renovate everything. I mean, it's good enough for the students right now in 2013. I would think it would be good enough for other uses.
Could I have a clarification on that? Because when you did the original cost for renovating the old building, it was $11 million. So why is it 6 now?
I think that was because we took part of it down.
Yeah.
That's because we moved 30,000 square feet out of the
Okay.
section
Okay,
between.
so that's the
So if you-
difference. So
if-
if
that's
you were,
why.
if the 1934 were there, it'd still be 11 million to renovate, not 6.
So if you kept the whole building, and then you would need the firewall between there, and then you could do whatever you wanted with the other building.
Right.
But it wouldn't be usable for students then, right?
Just as it is now, yeah. you
No,
just
with the
wouldn't-
firewall?
Yes, you just wouldn't be renovating it.
I read a firewall different than you do.
So do
I read a firewall as being not available.
Well, you can, no, you could put it's separating use groups. So the one side is now upgraded and the other side isn't, and the firewall then allows you to keep the other side from bringing it up to code.
Right.
And
So
so
you
there's
could
no
sit-
traffic
So
between them.
it's not
It's
really a,
just-
You
just
can
like
still
right
have
now,
traffic,
we have
yeah.
parking.
You can still have traffic between them.
it's
but
not
you-
really a wall end. It's just a
No.
imaginary border that we did this side, we're not gonna do that
It's a-
side.
Right, you could say it's a border that meets the code requirements so that you don't have to renovate the other side of the wall.
All right, then,
But
a
you can still
firewall is
use it
confusing.
You can
for
still
your
use it.
children.
Yes, just as you are now. You're using it now, and you would continue to use it the way you are now. But you would have to separate it. Because the one side you're bringing up to code, and the other side you're maintaining the existing condition.
And you would still need to separate the utilities, or no?
I don't think you would. Well, you might from the lead standpoint.
You said you had,
Yeah, from the
I
lead
remember asking this
standpoint.
question before.
Yes, and from the lead standpoint, you would because you have to have, you can't share utilities with a non-lead project in order to qualify for lead.
So that 11 million would be a total renovation.
For both buildings.
Right, but there's, if we're not using it for education, that isn't necessarily, we don't have to spend 11 million.
Right, that's the max.
The worst case, right, would be 11 million.
Doesn't mean you just leave it the way it is. And the maintenance thing was 250,000 a year, just to maintain.
That was the projection.
And we would not have the 50 million, 55 million would not be adding, we have to add 11 million to it for our project, right?
No, not if we use it for an academy.
What?
Not if we use it for an academy, because then they would build that blue section.
Then it's not 11 million, then it's 6 million, if you cut that part off, right?
Yeah, I think I'm starting to get confused by this. But one of the things to keep in mind, I think, is that for the next 2.5 years, you need to use that building for flex space in order to renovate the building. So if as a board you say you want to move forward with 1C and keep that building and use it, you have over 2 years to find a use for that facility. So in moving forward with the project, it isn't a decision at this point that you have to tear it down or you have to renovate it, because the building will continue to be used all the way through the construction project.
But
And it's
if we
gonna-
wanted it for academy for performing arts, we have to know now, because you're adding that section in.
That's correct, that's correct. If you're gonna use it as part of the academic program as an academy, then you have to make that decision in order to move forward.
comment?
Guess I'm the only one. I said some meetings ago that I was not in favor of tearing any of the old building down. I had stated that before. As I look at this, I'm not sure the visual arts, if it would be an academy, the visual arts, I agree, would need to be down towards the auditorium. I really believe that it would turn into a problem there. I mean, I guess I lean towards an academy in there, like entrepreneur, because the NJROTC has already been in there. That's where they were. And you're talking classroom space. The problem with, you know, we need to make a decision with it, because in 1992, they did the same thing. And they just closed it off, or they used it, but they didn't upgrade or do a lot of upgrade. So we now have this structure, and we're talking about it again, just like they did. And so that's why I'm thinking it doesn't compromise, I don't believe, the educational value of the academy, except maybe you don't have them neatly located before. But if that was an entrepreneur and you had the other three academies, like the STEM where it was, and the health, wellness kind of thing, and your visual fine arts, it would include it. The only thing you wouldn't have is where the cafeteria, where that central area is. And is that going to take away from the education of those students that would be in there? I don't know. I think it would. I just know we seal it off. Well, I won't have to worry either, because I'm sure down the road when they decide to do something else, it's going to be there yet. They're going to have the same issue. What do we do? Because I don't believe the community has the money to say, we're going to come in there and turn it into a community center. I may be wrong, but if we tear it down, I go back to what Steve said. You know, if we tear any of that down, then we're going to go to them with the foundation, and we're going to say, would you please, we're looking to contribute money for that, and you tore my school down. My school's not there. I don't know if they would, the people in the community, but we don't want to lose that support either, but I don't want to compromise the education of the students. I don't think it would. I just don't, if that becomes a center. I don't think it would work as a visual fine arts as I look at it. But that's my opinion.
So I don't think I heard anyone support option 1A, which is tearing everything down, or option 2A, which is the ninth grade academy. Is that true? I mean, at least we could start to narrow things down. We're still kind of far apart. But if we can get a couple options off the table, that would help.
I mean, I could go with that. At first I said about ninth graders, but, you know, I mean, if no one else has a problem with the whole 9th to 12th mixed like that, then my next thing would be like for an entrepreneur.
Well, I'm looking, you know, I was looking at the development plans and trying to figure out how much square footage we could, if we got rid of the new sections within the entrepreneur area, what sections we could not build.
You don't have the
In
square
terms
foot
of
per
the square
section.
feet. And
It's
it looks like maybe
30,000
we
square
could,
feet.
what, the entrepreneurs, 30,000,
30,000.
and we need 70, what do we need, 76, so we need to get rid of
What's in the STEM?
46 or more. Science,
But that's all the science and stuff.
that's pretty important.
So, well, see, there's a little, if you took down the 1938 section, and you wanted to move entrepreneur, you fit in the 45 and 1920 section. 45,000.
You know how many square feet on STEM?
You're separating.
Then you need a walkway or something.
Right, just do the open fence.
That's gonna be walking
Well, do you know how much it's in the staff?
$34,600.
There's like 30,519.
That's probably why they put visual arts on there, because that has 54,800.
Yeah, and I think some of the numbers you're looking at on that room list are scheduled area. And we have to look, there's a difference between the scheduled area, which is the actual rooms, and then the architectural area, which includes the corridors and all the other support space. So when you look at those numbers on that room list, you're looking at scheduled area, so it's actually a greater number than that. But I think if it's, I know you're narrowing options down, and I think without trying to figure out which one actually would fit in there, I think if the board's goal is to put academic space in there, then we should work with your administration and come back with a suggestion of how that can work. That may change the philosophy of the way you look at the whole educational geography of the building. I don't know, but I know we spent a lot of time looking at this, and we can revisit it.
Did you come up with that 3 people were doing option 1 and 3 were doing option 2?
You know, when I came to this meeting today, I figured if there was 8 people here, there'd be 8 designs. Since only 7, there's 7 designs. And I think what we have to do is, we have an offering here. We need a concept, but not the nuts and bolts about how many rooms you're gonna put here, how many rooms you're gonna put there. They've gotta say that this is what we expect on this project, and leave the engineering to do that job for us. Because we're not in a position, I don't have the knowledge to do the design. I don't think any of us do. But we have the knowledge to give them a concept about what we expect. And like I said, it comes down to not how we're gonna do it, but what are we gonna do? So, if we wanna pick a choice, 1A, B, C, and D, or 2A and B, we can do that. Then leave it up to the engineers to do the rest of it.
I think you're missing the point about how much it costs them too.
Well, they should know that when they make the decision. So, we have, Donna's interested in 2A, or which one are you interested in?
1B or C.
1B or C. What other options, what other choices do we have?
I mean, as far as
Yeah,
everybody else, where am
yeah.
I gotta go to the.
Can you
1B.
accept 1B?
I gotta find the dollars.
Page 52.
I have 41, page 41. 50, what page?
52 is the final one.
Okay.
50 is your out.
Okay, so that's project 2. So
That's the one you want.
currently, we're at 1A. Is that correct?
We were talking about 1B.
No, but I mean, our current project, the way it is now, is 1A.
Oh,
Well, no,
It could be
the current project, yeah, is option 1. And it could be any of the A, B, or C. We haven't made a decision whether it's the board hasn't made a decision whether you're removing the building, but we did do B where we detached the building to show that roadway in, but you could keep it at C where it maintains attached, and then you need the firewall. So we're under option 1 right now, but any of those possibilities, A, B, or C, are possible.
And you're suggesting 1B or C. There's a difference of $5
Yeah.
million
The
between the
difference
two.
is dollars, and the difference is how, whether we use it or don't find a use for it, or don't find a
Yeah.
use for it.
So we could be spending $5 million in Portland concrete sometime down the future.
Yeah, I guess my point was, if we agree to that building approach, we can decide the use as a separate initiative.
Well, if we decide on that approach, the engineer should go ahead and design it, and the utilization thing can come down the road when we start talking about who's gonna do this, and who's gonna do that, and what's gonna be here and what's gonna be here. Because the classrooms are the same, whether they're an academy or a regular traditional classroom. Okay, 1B. Anybody cannot accept 1B? You can't?
No.
Okay. So we don't get any votes, what?
I can accept 1B if the buildings remain attached. I like the concept of the academy, the way we have set up the academy building. But I don't want to tear down that part of that building.
What do you suggest?
I'm going to go to 5.
What do you suggest? What would be your choice?
Option 2.
What, A, B, C, 1, or A, B, 2?
One,
Do A or B.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but one option that we don't have here, okay, on our list, is option 1 is the current academic design of the project. And if you want to continue with that, we don't have the option here, which we could say is D, where you maintain all of the existing buildings. And you do the current design, but you maintain the entire existing building, and you find another use for it. That would be D, 1D, okay? Because on A, we're removing all of the existing buildings.
And how much do we have to work on?
Well-
1B is the 54
One-
44 million.
Yeah, B, we're detaching the middle section.
No, I'm saying the D is 54 million, whatever our current project is right now.
Correct,
Right.
except that we would put a firewall in there or something, and then you would have to figure out the use of the old building later. So you're in a sense you're deferring
Deferring on.
what you're going to do with the old buildings for a later time. Or you're looking for community groups or somebody else to come in
That would
and
be-
partner with it.
That would be the 965,000 for separate utilities.
Yeah.
Right.
You mean D would be for everything, design plus the old building, right?
D would be maintaining the old building,
And the current design.
but there is no educational program in that building.
And it's
And
not far up to spare.
what would be the project cost? How much would it change that?
965,000,
Right.
just to get utilities to the old building.
One-
And yeah.
So that would put us up to 62 million, right?
No.
It's only
uh,
71 million.
Oh, what's it,
56
54?
million.
Oh, I see a 61 here for C.
61 if we do something in the old building.
Oh.
This would be not doing anything to the old building, just getting utilities to the old building, having no plan right
So
now.
that'd be 57 million roughly.
No, our current cost is 54 million plus the 9.
Wait, our project cost here says 56.2.
For our current, it should be 54.
That's B, that's
Where's
it.
54, Mike? That's 54.
I think we can, to help you along.
We need help.
We're trying to understand it here too, and I think what I hear from the board saying is that they want to continue the existing academy design that was planned on the project, but you don't want to remove any of the existing buildings. And you want that to be some other use that you're going to continue to work on as you move forward, whether it's the district office, whether it's something else. You will determine that as you work forward. But so therefore, we could call that D, where we continue, but we have to figure out what to do with that piece from there over.
And we can't do anything with it for 2 or 3 years till the building's done anyway, because we gotta use it for
Well, yes,
classrooms.
right, and so we're gonna continue to use that as part of the flex space and as part of the building. And at some point, we're gonna have to keep working on this, we're gonna come back and say, either you're gonna put a firewall in and let it sit, or you're going to find, maybe if you move the district office over there and you renovate it, then you don't need a firewall because it just connects to the school. So maybe you, at some point as you work through this, you might decide it's another educational use that goes in there, and then you don't need the firewall. So I think what I hear you say is, at least as a majority, you want to do the existing design with the academic approach, but not tear any of the existing building down. And so we can then come back with some additional options, working with your administration. Here's some other uses for the building. Here's how the district office would work in there, and maybe there's some other programs that would fit in there.
Did you have to submit the whole thing at one time?
Well, right now, we've only submitted it as a high school for PlanCon. If you actually put the district office in there, let's say, then you would get additional reimbursement. Well, you get for a district office space.
How really based on students?
That's what I
Well,
was.
in the district office, you get reimbursement based on the number of employees that work in the district office. They also get reimbursement for district offices. So if you made it an elementary center, then you would submit it as an elementary center. But I guess that's the thing that you have to continue to work on then in our future meetings, is what's the use of that building?
Okay, so the cost for 1D is for your people, so it's like
It could be
54,984,000.
It could be 2C, it could be.
Plus 965,000.
Thanks.
Comes to 55,940,000.
Yeah, maintain, so let's make, you want to make it 2C.
Million.
So it's not to cause confusion.
So it's less, it's only 249,000.
It's gonna be unbelievable.
5,000 more.
Yeah. No. It's, the total cost, what we have currently right now is 54,984,500. I'm going back to our project cost. That
Well,
our current.
He just gave us this tonight.
No, the current project that we have right now that we've been working on, and he's been giving us all the data on.
Isn't that option one?
Huh?
Okay.
From Act 34.
Act
Yeah,
34,
that's
hearing
option
everything
right.
is $54,984,500.
That was written
You add
down.
965 to that, if you're gonna keep the building as he's saying, right, with the electrical or whatever it is, and you're adding 965 to that. And that's 55,949,500.
I think we're talking about a little over $1 million either way.
But that's what you're
Yeah.
going to do.
Okay, well, I don't
It's
see
only
that
our
number,
money,
but
what does it
you
care? Doesn't
you got, you can believe it.
So with option D, we do lose the traffic flow issue.
Yes.
And I know that there were people in the community that were concerned about that. And that's, I guess, why I'm still kind of holding on to option 1B a little bit to alleviate that for the community, but I'm not sure how to weigh that.
How are you gonna alleviate it? All you're gonna do is come out of two different, you have one block where the school's on. You have to go enter and exit. So how are you gonna alleviate traffic just by going through the school?
Well, because you can actually leave the school then without coming out on a road.
But loop it for what reason?
To line up the buses perhaps, because they get pretty backed up on those streets.
Just
And
like
they're not
people
gonna
coming
back up on the other
they
side.
come on the east side and they can kind of like it in, it's not here, it's right down to the west side. There's no in-campus something.
Yeah, I don't know how to weigh it, I'm not sure exactly
I
how.
thought they were putting a road that was going out to Montgomery Avenue.
Okay, we're talking about a new option D, which will maintain all our buildings. And is there anyone that can't accept D, 1D? You can't? Okay, fine.
One,
No, the reason I keep raising my hand, I would've used the building for something,
Well,
for one of the academies, something.
well, that's option is still there under D. We haven't decided what yet.
I don't
No,
know.
no, no.
No,
Oh, no, no.
Right, under D, we would keep all the buildings, but that's different than option 2A or 2B where we use them for education. I think everything under option 1, we're saying we're not using it for education.
Yeah, I wanna use it for education.
Okay, yes.
2 points. To Donna's point about the road, I looked at that and I can see where it can help, but it's $1 million. was the cost. So that was my concern, to spend $1 million for growth. And that's not gonna affect academics. I don't know if that helps any thought process. The thing that I'm not hearing, so, you know, the board, I guess, and I know the administration just got this as well, but I'd like to kind of hear what the administration is thinking. I know several months ago, they were leaning towards option 1A, which was to demo the buildings and put in 85 parking spaces. Since that pretty much seems to be off the table, I'm just curious what our administrators are leaning towards.
Who cares?
Because ultimately, to me, that's where we need to hear.
Yeah, certainly I'd be willing to start, and then Dr. Musso, and Dr. Cooper, and Mr. Zablowski, feel free to jump in. I'm getting a little confused with the 2D or 2C and 1D, but I guess what I'm hearing is a little bit of, I think what Mark stood up to say, is that you were hearing some consistencies from the board, but certainly the need to come back with more information. So I think what I heard tonight was, and I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth, this would be the one piece I think we need as an administration is, you know, where are we with the old building? Both the 1919 or 1920, the 34, 38, and if I'm saying any of that wrong, I apologize. But I think that's a key to allowing us to then come back with more informative options. It did appear that we were hearing a majority tonight not wanting to knock down either section. So at least that would be, if we leave here with one piece of information or direction, then I do believe we can come back to you with more detailed information, as well as Mark said, an opportunity to talk with others that are certainly invested in this process and have given some input into that process, and then bring you back, you know, a better set of information. But I know when we were preparing for the meeting today, that would be very helpful if we could come to some resolution on the old building, because that's I think the biggest piece we need to solidify. And we can come back to you with, you know, some variations or versions of what to do with it. And I know there's a significant, whether or not it's instruction, we're also hearing, I think, a majority saying, let's keep with the bulk of the project as planned and not use it instructionally. Now, I know there's some differences in the room. So if we could leave with those two pieces, I think between EI, the administrative team, the other staff members who have been involved, the design team, we can come back to you with a good set of information to have another good meeting like tonight. So I think, you know, those were two pieces I was hearing. I think Mark tried to say that a little bit. And I'll ask Dr. Musa, Dr. Cooper, and Mr. Zablowski if you'd like to, you know, anything else you'd like to add to that.
I think you summarized well. You know, we just got this now. These are things we've been asking EI in the last week and a half, 2 weeks, as a result of our community meeting, public, or the Act 34 hearing, and the conversation we've heard from the board at various meetings, come up with some options, and I think they have. We may have to ask them for another option, but I think that we need, when we leave, we haven't talked about this at all. I mean, we've said, give us some options, and that's what we have.
We haven't either, and they're asking us to make a decision. So,
Well, we need direction, that's what we need, you know, what's the overarching will of the board, you know, do we, and mainly it regards the old building. You know, the oldest section and the 38 or whatever we call 34 section. What should we be planning and what do we need to think about? Because we're gonna have to, you know, have serious discussions about what we do with all of it. But if we don't know how much of that we're going to use, or for what, then we're going to do that. Yes.
I think I feel a need to explain why I'm so supportive of the academy, of that concept. And it's because I've heard a lot from kids and from, you know, and then also from parents, that the ability to maneuver in that building now to get from classes is is really difficult. Kids can't get through the hallways to get to where they need to go. And it takes longer and longer apparently, and if we're going to be moving ninth grade in, you know, we really need to look at how what our goals are, not only from the comprehensive plan or the strategic plan for the students moving forward, but the numbers of students and how we can best accommodate the educational needs that they have. And the academies will help with the congestion problem, those kinds of things. Will also help with the smaller community idea. And I really believe that they need to be in the configuration that's been designed, so that, you know, the ninth grade are included, but they have their own separate, as we were shown before, separate area where their classrooms are. It's almost like their own little academy, although it's not a separate area. They're in the mix, and there's easy access to where they need to go. I think that's one of the major problems within the high school is access to the locations that as a student you need to go to. And I think that you have to acknowledge high school is stressful enough for students, let alone having to worry about how you're gonna get through a hallway. You know, I've talked to some kids and it's, you know, that's not a good situation apparently. Is that right?
50 square feet per student.
It can be a challenge at times, one section of the next.
So I think that this whole concept of what we're designing is looking at the kids, what's best for them and their needs academically and other ways.
So I think maybe we could just confirm that we have a majority that do not want to use the old sections for the core education of our students, and that we have a majority that doesn't want to tear down any of the old sections of the building. So maybe go around one at a time on those, that would be my suggestion.
Let me ask a question of Gwen first. Okay, so what you're talking about, Gwen, is because of the new, or the design that originally was set out, and gave the floor in the area where the majority of the high school is, the 50s and on sections, okay? So you're saying to use the old building would not be feasible for an academy because of its location.
I'm thinking, yes.
Is that why? Because I was leaning towards using it, but I'm concerned again. And I know 2 years down the road, we'll kick the can, 2 years down the road, we'll say, we have no idea. I just don't see it coming. But maybe I'm being too pessimistic too about that. I probably am. Hey, I'll admit it, but you know, it's time to decide on that building. Because otherwise, it's, you know, like when we took the tour, there were certain sections, because we're not really maintaining it as well as it needs to be, because of, it's being used, but it's not seriously being considered for a purpose.
Yeah, I agree with you, Ron. Go ahead.
When did this become a challenge, walking through the hallways, getting from place to place? I didn't hear this before. Has this been going on long?
Oh, don't you remember last year when they reduced the time between classes to give them more time for instruction, but then all the kids coming from the old building were coming late to their classes. And I guess I know it because my student was going through it.
Can we have some conversations?
No, I mean, to spend that kind of money because, so you extended a minute. I didn't know it was a challenge for them to get from class to class.
Well, the academy structure, as I see it, will eliminate the length of time the student has to be in the hallway. Because all the courses and classes in that academy, in that particular area of the building. Now, we still have some students that will have to make the cross-country trip, but we will be cutting the number of those down. Well, you know, so we're gonna wait for administration to give us some more recommendation, work on it?
Actually, again, and I'm certainly not, it sounded to me like, I think Donna, and this is you said, Sumi had just said, that if we did get direction on those two items, that's very helpful, then we could bring back a refreshed set of options, you know, based on that, but I think would provide the board with more to make. But I think the two things Mrs. Usavich said is, do 5 board members here not want to knock down either section? So we know that part. And do 5 board members here say, can we agree that it would not be the instructional center for students? So if 5 board members say each of those, then we could come back, I think, working with the I and others who have been in the process, bring back some more information, have another productive meeting like tonight, and get further in that. But it sounded to me, from your comments individually, although I don't want to, you know, but it seemed like there were 5 board members in support of those two concepts. But I don't want to miss, you know. So that's, I think Mrs. Usavich has suggested, try to, you know, poll the board on those 2 items. I thought it was a good suggestion.
Any other comments? You pulled it already.
No, not really.
I don't think,
No.
I think they're-
Clarify the suggestion that
Okay, we're talking about maintaining the old building,
Raise your hand.
current design, and something about what we're going to do with the original building.
Right, so the 2 questions are, do we agree that we do not want to use the old building for instruction for the high school? And do we agree that we do not want to tear down any parts of the old building? Those are the 2 questions.
My concern is not tear down any parts, you know, it's pretty specific, and there's not much room for creativity as far as the engineers and the administration are concerned. If the recommendation is that we should be using that for education, I don't want to block it out. So I think we can go ahead with the design that we wish to maintain the old building, not get into how we're going to use it, that we're going to maintain it, and what was that?
Do we agree that we do not want to use it for instruction? And there, I think you're maybe saying that you would rather hear it from administration.
Yeah, I don't want to lock that out at this present time for the design, but I'm only one person. So the question is, maintain the old building and not use it for instruction, and
not tear down any of these, right, you kind of put them in one.
they're all together, okay? Your comments, polling,
I,
thumbs up or thumbs down?
Well, Ruth wants to use it for education, but you do not want to tear down any of them. So
Right.
you're kind of like this.
oh, excuse me.
See?
I'm pretty much 2 thumbs up. You bring up an interesting point, though. I just don't know how the administration would go from tearing it down to use it for instruction. But,
I don't want to lock that idea out.
yeah,
You
so
know,
I guess I don't necessarily want to lock that out either, but I guess I would be surprised if that came back as,
Thumbs up or down?
so,
I feel like we've already heard that.
I'm sorry.
I feel like we've already heard that by getting the academy design already. That was administration's.
Right, yeah, that's what I thought. So I'm 2 thumbs up.
Gwen?
Yeah, I'm disappointed at you.
definitely don't want it torn down. The only way I can consider this going up is if we seriously come up with a use. If we're not gonna do that, and it's just a bunch of words, and we're just saying nice so that the community knows, oh, they're not gonna tear it down, but then we have this building, we don't do anything with it. Thank you, Ron. Then I'm not in favor of it, because then we're just doing like they did 20 years ago.
10 years ago, 5 years ago.
Oh, 92. So. Oh, it's going up.
Barbara?
Well, I'm for, what is it, option B, option one, B, or C.
That's for not tearing any part of the building down.
No, it's detaching.
Oh, it is for detaching, right. So, so that means your thumb's down on the one, but you're, you do not want to use, well, I don't want to put words in your mouth. You want to use it for education.
No.
No, so your thumb's up on the other one. Rob, are you tallying this?
I'm trying my best.
Okay.
I think I'm pretty good, but I'll certainly check. At this point, and I don't want to put words.
I will say thumbs up for myself, and let's see what comes out of the
And I
design.
did the other column with Ron and I.
I'm good for not using it for education. I'm sort of on the fence about tearing down the 1934 portion, but I could go with the majority of the board and the decision there.
This is what I heard, and, you know, it's different people in two parts, but there's 5 people saying, don't tear any section down, and there's 5 people, at least in that poll, who said they could agree to at least the current plan of not using it as the place for instruction. Now, it's a little different on the people, so I think that would give us some opportunity to come back, but on the not tearing down, John, Ruth, not tearing down, Steve, not tearing down, Gwen, not tearing down, and Ron, not tearing down. There's 5 people saying they could support that at least at this point. And then on not using it as the instructional place, I have Barbara, I have Steve, Gwen, John, and Don. And so it's slightly different, but there's 5 votes either way. And I think that would give us enough to at least come back to you with a better and refreshed set of information. I think that would be helpful, knowing that there are so many things to think about and talk about here. But I think that would give us a good next point for a meeting. I defer to Mr. Zablowski and Mr. Crosley as to, the need for another meeting, but that would be my suggestion.
There is a need for another meeting. I've had my calendar out already.
Now, I would, oh, Steve?
Yes, I think Ron, Dr. Chrisman made an excellent point. So just for clarity, what I'm looking for from the administration is what would be some possible uses. If it's reaching out to the community, if it's the Ed Center, if it's an Arts Center, I don't know what, but something.
And to that point, it's an excellent point. And I think that if this is the way we go, we need to make a commitment to ourselves, to the community, that we're going to create a project, define a project. How are we going to make the decision? By when are we going to make the decision? How are we going to engage the community in that? What is that project?
See, then I wouldn't have a problem. But I just know, if we don't, it won't happen. She's a troublemaker.
Yeah, she is.
She's a troublemaker.
Calendar.
What?
Well, the next meeting is the 21st. That's too long. We have next
Because we had talked sometime about getting other planning funds on our agenda, and we're not ready for it.
Finance on Tuesday, throwing this out. And I don't want, I know that's, this is hard for us, I don't, since it would seem that the board's here tonight, maybe that's a possibility, throw that out.
Definitely a possibility.
And then we're talking about,
Makes sense. Kind of a short agenda. We're gonna do healthcare, we're gonna do technology.
what time is finance scheduled to start right
Just
now?
figure it out.
Would you want to adjust one? I'm throwing that out to the team.
We could do like we did on the 4th and set facility for 5:30 and then just start finance after we're done the facility.
If that would be acceptable.
Well, Ms.
Hopefully not
That's not
10:30.
fair, is it?
Mrs. DeBoria?
Yeah.
The junior high principal interviews go
Right.
until 6 on that day.
So we couldn't start earlier than 6.
And that's the adjusted then.
Or we could adjust that back. I could check on that tomorrow, and I could work with several of the board leadership and through the chairs, we could work through, because there are a number of things scheduled leading up to that, but we could, possibly look at some options there.
Must it be Tuesday?
If you agree to Tuesday, we could come back to you with a suggestion of the times and fine tune that a little bit and then email to you tomorrow.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
But,
They're just gonna adjust the
nothing's
time.
easy right now. I think we have to open our thoughts to other times if possible.
Yeah, the problem is on May 7th, I have some people coming in to present, and Ben is coming in, and Mr. Major's going to speak about technology.
To the finance. So I don't think we should mess with that one.
How about the 6th?
Sixth,
Yeah, how about,
sixth is available?
Wait,
Monday evening.
Anybody not make the sixth?
It would have to be 6 or 6:30 for me, but yeah, I can make it.
Well, we can start at 6:30 and then continue up till 6:30 the next night.
There's enough floor space here, right?
I'll provide
according to PDE, maybe.
So if the majority is leaning towards that, we could again, without the conflicts, we could solidify a time.
Are you talking 6:30 now?
Facilities at 6:30
On the 6th.
on the 6th. Okay, everybody have that one? That'll be in the bulletin and on your Friday publication.
Yes, absolutely.
Joe isn't here and Oz isn't here.
it's a little short notice.
Absolutely. We can follow up with them tomorrow
But
too.
I think we have a lot of work to do yet. Before here.
Yeah.
Get this ready for bid. Okay, any other board discussion items? Next one is public comment.